Yeah, it's really, really good. But obviously,
and I opened up quite a bit.
Yeah.
I don't normally like to open up about that too much. It's not a time I'm not really proud of. You know, I did some bad things and I made some bad choices, and I'm not really proud of those times. But there's nothing you can do about it, you know, other than try and learn from it and move forward. And you know, there's 2 days of the year you can't do anything, and that's yesterday and tomorrow. All you can do is deal with what you can today.
Nice.
Yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's a gift. That's why they call it the present.
Do you know what, dude? I think though your story is so good because it's such a ball of positivity, you know. So to hear about dark times from someone who's so positive is really helpful for people that might be like having a shit time themselves.
For sure.
I agree totally. And it's like you said before, you know, back when you were in the more of a rock star era, no one had access to you, so no one knew anything about this. You just see this page in a magazine and you're like, oh, wow, that's the guy. Whereas now I think with platforms like this and various other platforms, you can actually talk about those experiences and people learn more about you and about how, you know, I guess how all that stuff actually manifested and why. And I think that's interesting. There's a fine balance, I think, of like staying a little bit elusive, keeping some stuff obviously that's really personal to yourself. But our audience, I think, would be keen to know a little bit about like how that happened, if that's cool. I think
it's like it's a different age with the internet,
access, yeah,
and the
sure.
access,
yeah,
and the amount of information that you can do. Back then, I just disappeared, and I just all of a sudden I wasn't in the movies. All of a sudden, I wasn't at Rampage. All of a sudden, I wasn't in the magazines. I just was gone.
Yeah,
and I disappeared for 5 years.
Was it money? Obviously, you're young. You're making money, and I guess is it you don't know what to do?
It was some of that.
Yeah,
like I had more money than I had ever had before, and I love to party, and I'm really good at it. And so I would buy drinks for people, or like I would be at like coming off the Whistler Bike Park, and I'd meet a bunch of Aussie downhillers and some British downhillers and some American dudes, and they're like, "Hey, Brett Tippie, how's it going?" And I would sit down and have a round of drinks, and then I'd buy a bunch of rounds, and then it was just fun, right? And they go home at the end of the night, and I'm all revved up, and I would just keep going. Right. And then, you know, being in Whistler was tough because you're there, and then someone comes to town for, you know, 2 or 3 days or a week, and then they go hard while they're there. That's their moment. Yeah. And then they go home, and then you're there, and then another group comes in, and they're fresh and ready to rock. And I like people who I could go, and so I would rock with them for 2 or 3, 4 or 5 days, and then they would leave town. Then a new group would come in. So there was always fresh recruits of people to party with, but I was there the whole time.
Yeah.
And I liked to party, so I would go as hard as I could go, and I was a competitive partier. Like I could shotgun a beer in 1.2 seconds, so I'd have sprinting races, and I could see who could go the distance, and you could see who could stay up all night, and who could ride hungover, and it just got worse and worse and worse. Partying, and it got me because you know, it was a bit of too much money, maybe.
Yeah.
It was a bit of experimentation. I'd never really done stuff like that before. The stuff that I got into with the hard drugs, like I had never really done it, and then all of a sudden I could do it, and I could buy a lot of it. And you know, I went through a breakup with the girl that had me down and out, and it's a bit of wanting to know what was on the other side of the dark side. I kind of wanted to see what it was like to do that. Yeah. And I'd heard about it. I'd seen it in movies. I'd watched Scarface and whatever. And I tried it, and it got a hold of me. And it's a powerful thing. And once you're in it, you kind of get used to it. And it just seems so gnarly and ghetto and dirty before, but then you just get used to it when you're in it and you're doing it every day. And then it just becomes your life. And it took me a long time to get away from it. Even when I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, I kept doing it because I was addicted. And I would make bad choices, and I kept drinking. And when I was drinking, you'd make more bad choices, and then I'd end up doing it, even though I didn't want to. And it destroyed my life. I eventually lost every single sponsor, and I eventually was embarrassed about what I was doing. So I hid from my parents. I hid from everyone in the mountain bike world, in the snowboard world, from the TV world, and I just got deep into it, and I just went underground. And at the beginning, it was pretty exciting because it was like being in a movie, with all these gnarly, hardcore people in a different world. And it took me a long time to climb out. And even when I climbed out, I would slide back in by getting drunk, and then I would make bad choices and do that stuff. And it was like being possessed by yourself.
Really?
Because like I say in Live Uncaged, I said it, and I've said it before, it's like your dark side has just as much willpower as you do. So even if you have strong willpower, your dark pleasure-seeking self has just as much willpower as you do. And it's a really tough thing. So, it's, I know by being there, I've tried to help people, and people reach out to me on Instagram to say, how do I get sober? How do I do this? Or they say, thank you. I've been 3 months sober, or I'm 3 years sober, and thank you. Because if you go to a counselor that's never done that, what are they going to tell you?
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to read something out of a book or whatever, but I've been there, and I've probably been there a lot more hardcore than these people that are reaching out for help. You know, I was literally like a street person at the end. I had no vehicle, I had no sponsor, I had no money. I was like 50 pounds lighter. I lost 50 pounds of muscle. I was like all cheekbones and ribs and a crack back, 6-pack, like just from malnourishment, and it was really ugly. And at one point I thought I broke my brain. I thought, like, this is who I am now, and I can't stop. And is this who I am going to be? Am I going to die like this? Like, I had a good life and I ruined it. I threw it away. I had everything going, and I've disgraced my family name, and I, you know, my parents never stopped looking for me. They always loved me, and just a bunch of different things just made it worse and worse. And then you'd escape the pain by doing more of it, and it was an endless cycle, and it was just gross. And
was this still in Kamloops? You say you sort of like hid yourself. Was this still sort of local to where you were living?
Yeah, it was in Whistler.
Whistler, okay.
And then it was in Kamloops.
Okay.
And it was. I just went deep into it, and it's like a nightmare now, and it's pretty embarrassing. And I don't know if there's any advantage to me for telling people about it. You know, I don't want to lose any sponsors or disgrace who I am and what I am.
No,
but at the same time, I made a choice that, you know what, like, if I tell my story, it's going to maybe help someone else and give someone else hope and inspiration. And I went there, nothing I can do about it. I might as well not embrace it, but I might as well accept it and take responsibility for what I did and share the experience with others to try and help others who might be in a dark spot and help them, because there's many different people that are in a dark spot for many different reasons, whether it be alcohol or drugs or gambling or whatever addiction they might have, that they might be in a dark place.
Yeah.
And if I can help them out of a dark place, then I should do that, because I'm in a position where I can help them. And if I can, then I think I should. So I'm putting it out there. And like I say, it's not something I'm proud of, but I want to help others. And I think I am. And I get messages all the time that people are like, oh my God, I'm, like I say, 3 years sober, I'm 5 years sober, I'm 2 months sober, thank you. And I have people reaching out like, how do I do this? And I give them advice and whatnot. So
what is a bit of advice that you'd normally pass on?
One thing is like slippery slopes. You have to learn what is going to be a trigger for you. People, places, and things are things you have to change to get yourself out of that dark spot. You got to change the people, places, and the things. And one of the mental tools that I learned in rehab that I applied later, even though rehab didn't work for me right away, play the tape forward is a mental tool where you are at the beginning of where you're going to drink or use, and you put yourself forward in time mentally to the end of the run where it's not exciting. At the beginning, you're like, we're going to get some stuff. We're going to get wasted. We're going to high five. We're going to laugh. We're going to feel great. It's going to be awesome. You go past that. And you go to the end of where you know it's going to be. You're going to be hungover. You're going to be jonesing for the drugs. You're going to be broke. You're going to feel guilty for having blown this off or that off. And you're going to be at the end going, why did I do that? Like, and like you always do end up. And then you pull yourself back to reality where you are, and you don't make that choice to go there. It's called Play the Tape Forwards.
That's really good. I've never even heard that.
I've never heard of
really
it.
good.
Yeah, it really worked for me.
Yeah.
And so I would be all excited to go party and get high or get wasted. And I would just play the tape forward, pull back to reality, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing that. And so I started doing that more and more. And eventually I got a job doing some construction. A friend of mine that I was on the national snowboard team with, Greg Salmon, got me a job doing some construction. And I started being a normal person, sleeping at night, working in the day, eating, doing normal human things. Because I would go for 7 days without sleeping. I did 10 days without sleeping once, like full debauchery. And I just wanted to see what I could do, and I wanted to see how hard I could push my body. And, you know, the U.S. Army says the average human will die after 12 days with no sleep. And I did 10 days without sleep once. And I did 7 days, a whole bunch. And that's just, you're just killing yourself.
Yeah.
I think even if it's subconscious, I think telling people about it or talking about it is like a way of like, if you had Brett Tippie talking about how you fixed it when you were in it, it would have really helped you maybe. Maybe there's like a part of that. Yeah.
It would have given me hope.
Yeah.
I had lost hope almost. I was like, I think I broke my brain. I think I'm like this forever. And if I could see a video of myself sitting here with you guys here in England, riding for a bunch of different brands that are supporting me and being able to give back and inspire others and have fun and have the life that I'm living with the people that I'm living it with, I'd be like, okay,
yeah,
it's why don't you do that? But it just slowly happened as it naturally happened. And I'd have to say that my parents never stopped looking for me. And even though I was in my 30s, they found me and pulled me out of some bad places. And eventually I wanted to go to Crankworks because I'd been 3 months sober, and Darren Bearclaw got me a bike to ride, and I tried biking again. And I almost slipped up one time, and Jordy Lunn like shut it down, and I was going to go use with this professional hockey player. And he's showed up, and you know, Jordy Lunn looks gnarly, and he's like, "Tip, what are you doing? Let's go." And he said to the dude, "Beat it." And the guy was like, and the guy beat it.
Yeah.
And I almost slipped up there. And then thank God, because the next day I met my wife, who would become my wife.
Wow.
At Crankworks, and I fell in love with this amazing girl, super funny. She rode bikes, and she was incredible, and she was cracking jokes, and I would crack a joke, and she'd like turn it into a double meaning, and I would take it and turn it into a triple meaning, and we'd go back and forth like a tennis game with these word play and jokes, and I just fell in love, and I went riding with her, and she kicked my ass. And then I went riding with her on the North Shore, and she kicked my ass again, and I'm like, who is this girl? And you know, all of a sudden we had a baby, and she helped change my life, you know. And I got it together doing construction and buying diapers and working just as a blue collar worker and getting my shit together. And
was the plan always to get back into the bike industry?
No, I thought I blew it. I thought that ship had
Really, yeah.
sailed. And
Okay.
you know, I was like in my late 30s, and I wasn't going to be a pro rider again. I would thought I'll do construction, or maybe who knows what I'm going to do. All I know is that I need to pay rent this month, so I have to go to work. So I had my hard hat, my work boots, and I just went to work, and I did it. And I did relapse 3 times, and she gave me 3 strikes. And at the end, she's like, "Okay, you're an awesome guy, but you're crazy. Like, I have this baby, and I don't want my baby around any of this shit." She goes, "I'll raise this baby with someone else. We're done." And I was like, that was the lowest point where I didn't want anyone raising my baby girl except for me. And I just went, okay, wait, I'll quit drinking. And if I quit drinking, I'll never do any of that other shit again. Give me one more chance and I'll quit drinking right here, right now. This is it. And she's like, okay, I'll give you one more chance. If you ever do that shit again, I'm gone. Look me in the eyes. I mean it. I'm never coming back. And that was the last time I ever drank. And that was December 17th, 2008. And I never had a drop of alcohol ever since. I never touched any drugs. And I've just had my shit together ever since. And life has just slowly gotten better and better. And what I learned is once I got sober on the different times, I thought things would be better right away. I thought, okay, I'm sober, things are going to get better. And things didn't get better right away. It's like, it's tough. It's a tough world sometimes. And I learned that it takes time. But once things do roll and the good starts rolling, it's like a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger, and then good begets good. And I learned that if you have patience, good things happen. And eventually good things did happen. Julian Coffey from Raceface hired me to ride for Raceface and did some ads with me.
Were they the first brand to get back involved with the new Brett Tippie?
Yeah, Julian Coffey,
The reinvented one.
was the marketing manager for Raceface, hired me, and then we did an ad where they had all the different colored Atlas cranks, and I had a mohawk, all the different colors of the new cranks. And so we did that ad, and we did some other ones, and then he brought me down to Breaker 08, where instead of having an internet booth, they had like a mansion, and we had a big party, and I hosted that, and we did a live show, the first live show that Pink Bike had done, and I got back on the mic and was working it.
Because you did some commentary before, is that correct? Or
I'd done stuff for snowboarding,
Like
where
snowboarding.
I'd done 4 years for CTV Sportsnet, the biggest sports television network in Canada.
Yeah.
And I did 4 years of a free ride show called The Sacred Ride back in the good days, BC, before crack. And so I had experience on the mic, and I was always, good at talking and cracking jokes and whatnot. But afterwards, he hired me again, and he changed my life too by giving me a job. And I got hired to do some Crankworks coverage. So I started doing Crankworks coverage and ended up doing all the Crankworks, for the next 12 years.
Turns out you're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I can talk to anybody, and you got to be quick. You got to be quick on your feet to think of a question, and sometimes they might answer your question, so you got to think of another question. And I know everybody, and I love the sport, and I'm a fan, and it caught on, and so I became Pink Bike's #1 guy on the mic for 12 years, and did all the Crankworks. I did like the Mont Saint Anne World Championships in 2010. I did all the Whistler Bike Park Open 88 videos. I did all the videos. I was their #1 guy, and I loved it. And so then brands started coming on. I was doing like Sea Otters and everything, and I started riding, and I was hungry because I wanted to prove that I still had it. And I was doing some other things, like I did the Squamish River Gap, and I'm not a great jumper, but I was forcing myself to hit big gaps, and I was riding steep lines. And Wade and I wrote some things in Whistler, like flypaper that nobody has done. Like Cam Zink looked at it and said, "That's nuts." Andre Lacondege said, "Never in my life I read that line." Finn Isles looked at it. Remy Metallier, like all the badasses in the world have looked at some of these lines and went, "Nope." And I was like, I hit it 4 times, and I made it once. Wade hit it twice, made it once, and no one else has ever tried that line. And so I was doing things like that, and I did a bunch of gnarly things that got me back, and enough to get me sponsored again, and as well as doing like online, video host duties and live announcing. I was doing more live announcing than I do for many years now. For 12 years or more, I've done like all the Canada Cup downhills and PC Cup downhills, and some cross country, some enduros, as well as other sports like Red Bull rally car races, BMX World Cup finals, Red Bull Crashed Ice, just announcing, and I've turned that kind of into a career, as well as complementing my riding. Yeah. And it's just, if you have patience, good things will happen, and good begets good. And if you work hard and go hard, don't burn any bridges, good things happen. And
the good people too, by the sound.
Yeah, good things happen to good people, and thank God, because I love my life and I love the people in my life. And I have 2 kids. I have 2 beautiful daughters, Alex and Jessamy, and I want to support them. I brought them into this world. They didn't ask for any of that stuff, so I've quit that. I'll be 16 years sober in December coming up.
Amazing.
And
Hell yeah.
I'm doing it. And I'm so thankful that the mountain bike world welcomed me back.
Dude, you're a credit to the mountain bike world. Not only is it, I don't think you need to, I think we're lucky to have Brett Tippie, I would say, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, man, what an episode that was. You did amazing in it.
And so did you.
You shone like a star.
You shone like a moon.
Can we also put something up here that you can click on for the next episode?
How about we put a subscribe up there in the middle?
Yeah,
We're going to put a video we think that our lovely companionship will love
Yeah.
on your face.
On my face?
Yeah.
So
And
they
on
can't see me now?
Gone. And on my face, another video that we think people will love. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please hit like and subscribe. You guys are the best.
Peace and love.